Nothing helped for my stress and overwhelm until I learned and applied these 5 things. First thing is, when I had my stressful day, all the way at the end of the day, I just let it happen. At the end of the day, I took a mental scan of the moment I woke up until the moment right now, and I scanned every single part of my day to see what the first trigger was of my stress. And if there was a second trigger, I add that. If there's a third trigger, I add that. And that way I could mentally avoid those triggers. So for me, if it was running late and that's what stressed me out, I would make sure that I would implement some sort of steps in the future that would help me not be late so I don't have to rush anymore. Being aware of your triggers and then identifying exactly what those triggers are allow you to set up practices or do some sort of shadow work to help remove that trigger from your being or prevent yourself from being triggered in the first place. Second step I learned from Abraham Esther Hicks, which is micro intending or segment intending your day. So I was the kind of person who would just wake up and do what I have to do all the way until I have to go to bed. And I would always stress out that something would go wrong or someone would, look at me the wrong way, especially if you're socially anxious. This is also something that probably goes into your head where you just think the worst of any sort of situation the minute that you leave your house. So what I would start to do is segment or micro intend, which means before I do any sort of task, I sit in my head, I meditate for a little bit, I talk to my higher self or my inner self, and I say, I'm going to go to the grocery store. It's going to wind up like this. I'm going to find everything that I need. I'm going to get out of there more than on time. There's not going to be any traffic going and there's not going to be any traffic getting back home. And that way, when I just allowed myself to visualize how that task was going to go, I would then go about that task. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, it would work out in that way. And if it didn't work out in that way, I wasn't as stressed for some reason. Third thing was transitioning my showers to nighttime. And I started doing this when I was working with one of my shamanic healers, and they were telling me after they had a session with me that every single day you are absorbing other people's energy or around other people's energy, especially if you do some sort of energy work or work with a lot of clients in one day. And what we were doing coming back home and then just getting in our pajamas and then going to bed and waking up the next day, I realized that I was carrying the energies over to the next day, giving me like a second day hangover of other people's energy that wasn't even mine. So I transitioned my showers into nighttime so I could finally cleanse everything before starting the day the next day. Number 4 is super simple, just making sure that I have things to look forward to every single day and an even bigger thing to look forward to at the end of the week. This allowed me to not focus completely on all the stressful things I had to do of that day, but how I was going to relieve myself and create joy for myself at the end of the day or end of the week.